on the occasion of upcoming Science Day celebrations. A PhD from IIT Roorkee and postdoctorate from TIFR Mumbai, Dr. Agarwal is a passionate science communicator and member of the National Center for Science Communicators, NCSC India. Today, she'll share her insights with us. Let's give her a warm welcome. Now, I request ma'am to explore the science within us. Thank you.
Hello, good morning everyone. How are you all? I must say that we are meeting for the first time, and as my introduction has already been done, so thank you all the teachers and all my students for such a warm welcome and such kind words.
Use that mic to this one.
This
That's
one
for
also?
Video recording.
Huh.
This is for
Okay. So, can you hear me? The last, yes? Okay. So, why are we meeting today? Tell me. And I want the session to be interactive session, okay? So, it should not be a boring, sleepy session that somebody came to your school and then we fell asleep. So, it should not be like this. It should be an interactive session, right? So, why are we meeting today? Tell me. Who will tell? Yeah. So you must be knowing that Science Day is coming on 28th February. Okay. And why is it celebrated? Anyone? Okay. To honor Dr. C.V. Raman. Okay. So he is what? He is a pioneer. He is a towering. He is a dynamic scientist, or you can say a physicist. Okay. And he has done and contributed for science, and that cannot be forgotten. And whatever he has given to Indian science, that will stay for us with, it will always stay with us. So today we are going to learn a bit about Dr. C.V. Raman. Obviously, we cannot live his life, but we will take some points, some good points from him, that how he was so curious about learning science, right? So we will go back in the history, and as you can see on the screen, we will talk about Dr. C.V. Raman today. Now, the subheading says Curiosity, Light and Art of Science. Now, is science a very boring subject, or is it just to get marks? Who will tell me? Why do you like science? Anyone can raise their hand and tell me. Why do you like science? Is it to just get marks? Yes, because you're curious to know how this world is moving, right? What all is happening around you. Whatever you see in front of you is something related to science, okay? And you will understand the practicality of it. You will understand why this is happening and for what reason it is happening. Something happening, right? The sun, the earth is revolving and rotating around its path. There also must be some logic behind it, isn't it? Why it is that the earth takes 365.25 days in a year? Why do you celebrate leap year? Why it never changes? Why the 365 days doesn't become 120 days in a year? So why there's a certain pattern? What is the practicality? Why it is spontaneous? This all is because of our curiosity, that we keep finding new things, and that is the work of a scientist. Scientist explores the world. Scientist discovers new thing, and that is something like a riddle. Okay, the riddle to be solved. So when you go for a party, or when you go to your parents' place, or they ask you riddles, isn't it, among yourself? So you enjoy that. So similarly, if you take science not as a subject but as a curious thing, you will start loving it. Okay. So now let's move to science. When we talk about science, we will also talk about that science is the essence of life. Okay, there is nothing that runs without science. Anything, whatever you see in front of you is science. Okay. Now let's go back and talk about Dr. C.V. Raman. He was born in 1888. So, abhi 2026 is on. Not very far we are talking about. It is just a matter of, I must say, 19th century. Okay. And we are in 21st century right now. He was born in 1888 in Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu. Okay. He was the second among the 8 children in his family and not rich at all, a regular normal guy. And his father used to work he was a teacher in a local school. So nothing big, big names attached to him. He was a general, common. You can see from the structure of the hut also that he was not a richie, that he achieved because of his money, power and all those things. He was a simple family, a Brahmin family. Okay. So now you can see this boy who was a general, must be around 10 years old. He used to spend lot of time with listening to the sea waves, going to the shore, listening to the violin of which his father used to play. So in their family, music was something which was very inherited, and he used to get that from music, and musical instruments were the prime thing which was there. And he used to listen to violin, and music also helps you in relaxing. You become stress free. So, and he was amused to see the vibrant world around him, the colors. So what is attracting him now? The colors. Okay. So his scientific journey begins. Why? How? In 1892, his father became the lecturer. He got the job here in Visakhapatnam. So C.V. Raman, the young C.V. Raman, at the age of 4 years, he came to Visakhapatnam for 10 years. And he spent his scientific journey started from here. So like you only, he was also sitting in one of the school and learning. Okay. So you can just imagine that from a small town boy, how much he has achieved. That we are actually celebrating Science Day to commemorate the Science Day on his, such a discovery that he made. So he was just 4 years old in 1892 when their family came to Visakhapatnam, and here they spent 10 years. Okay. He was a topper. He was actually getting lots and lots of prizes, allocates, and he was doing very good. He was a bright student. In 1903, he earned a scholarship and went to Presidency College, Madras. Okay, now I am calling Madras because at that time it was Madras. It was not Chennai. So in 1903, he joined Presidency College, which is again a very reputed college in Madras. Then during that time, you are just actually going through a life of a scientist. 1907. So in 1907, there was not too much of work, or you can say that there was not too much in research work. So research was not very advanced in India. It was the colonial time period which was going on. The Britishers were here, and not too much of financial support was there for the research work. So what happened? He had to join government job. Okay. But as his interest was for the research and teaching everyone and being a scientist, he actually that landed him in 1907. He went to Calcutta. Okay. After joining the civil services, financial civil services, in 1907 he reached Calcutta, and there he saw the Indian Association of Cultivation of Science. Now again, this is also very reputed, I must say, an organization, an institute, and you have already seen that we have like lot of scientists are coming from Bengal as well. So it became his dream to work in that Cultivation of Science Institute. Okay. So now whole day he was teaching from 9 to 5. From 9 to 5 he was teaching, and later in the evening he used to go to his lab to work. So his life was totally devoted for research work. Okay. Now colors in science. When we talk about colors in science, you are very well aware that sun is the natural source of light. Yes. And it is made up of, who will tell? Light is made up of, what color is there? The sunlight is made up of white light, right? And how many colors are there in white light? 7. And what do you call it? Spectrum or Vibgyor, right? So you have all 7 different colors of different frequencies and different wavelengths. Like if I tell you that you have to calculate speed. So what all parameters you will take? Speed is equal to distance upon time. So you should know the distance and you should know the time. How much time is taken to achieve that much of distance? That becomes a speed. Similarly, when it comes to light, now which parameters are important? Wavelength and frequency. So every light, which is I'm talking about, the 7 colors, okay, that constitute white light, it is made up of different frequencies and different wavelengths. Now these 2 parameters are very important to understand light, okay, and the combination of these 7 colors give you white light. Very simple. Anybody has any doubt? Okay. So now, see, we are actually weaving a story around him, and we are just actually knowing how it went. And this went, a turning point came, and the remarkable journey, I must say, when he went to Europe for the first time. So now Dr. Raman went to Europe, okay, to attend a conference at Oxford University in 1921. And when he was returning from there, obviously flight was not there, they had to go by ship. So when he was returning back, he pondered, he thought that when he was coming to the Mediterranean Sea, it is giving you deep blue color. Okay, the color of the water is deep blue. You must have seen, if you go to RK Beach, you will see the color of the water. It can sometimes become grayish, sometimes it become dark blue, sometimes it becomes light blue. Different shades of water you will see in the, but you have already know that the color of water is transparent. It is there in the water bottle. Can you see the blue color there? No. So what is happening? There is some mystery around this thing. So this ignited the scientific journey, and he got fascinated. And he started asking a lot of questions to himself that why it is happening, that if the water is transparent, there is no color in this, I cannot see the blue color here, right? So why it is that in Mediterranean Sea, the color of the water is coming out to be dark blue? So he got confused and he said that there must be some theory around it, there is some mystery around it. So it was already being proposed by Lord, I think Rayleigh, okay? So late Lord Rayleigh has already assumed and told that sky is actually blue, and it is because of the scattering of water vapor which is there, and the sunlight falls into it onto it, and the sky gives you blue color. So this was already known, but it was assumed by him only that the color of the sea is blue because of the reflection of the sky by this ocean surface. Okay, are you getting this point? Actually, what it was assumed by then, like 1921, nobody knew the reason why the water is being seen as blue. So it was assumed that the color of the deep blue sea is not because of the scattering of light, but it is because of the reflection from the blue sky which is falling on the water, on the sea or on the oceans. Okay, this was the reason. But then he went inside, he cut off the reflection, but then also the color of the sea is blue only. He said that there must be definitely some reason to it, some mystery to it, and that is the reason he came back. For 2 years, he was totally dedicated to, learning new things, and he was actually wanting to explain this mystery, why it happened. So this was the most turning point. Now you can imagine this is all happening in 1921 when he was returning, and he gave himself, devoted himself to this scattering of light. Here you can see that he even made this. Right. He made this spectrograph. Okay. And this was just for 500 rupees. It was made at that time. Can you imagine 500 rupees is nothing for such a big discovery that people even remember him today? So just at 500 rupees, he actually made this spectrograph. And what it does, it studies light scattering, allowing him to explore the properties of light. So light is, everybody knows the properties of light, but till then, till 1928, 21, nobody knew the actual concepts and properties of light. So he started exploring it, okay? And this was this Raman spectrograph that he made by himself, okay? Then came a remarkable point where your new radiation was found, okay? And this is that scattering of light for which he got Nobel Prize in 1930. He was the first Asian to get Nobel Prize in 1930, and that too in science, okay? Now this is just, I am just showing you how this white light is coming. There's a prism over here, and it is giving you basically all the whole spectrum you can see from here, right? Vibgyor. So blue color of the sea is due to the scattering of incident sunlight by the molecules of water. Okay, molecules are made up of what? Okay, elements or atoms? Yes. So whatever you see in your periodic table is nothing but the simple atoms or ingredients, or you can say elements. And like oxygen, hydrogen, these are all elements, atoms. And when I combine them in a particular structure, it becomes a molecule. So molecule comprises of atoms, right? And this whole world, atom is nothing but it is the most fundamental unit of matter. It is the most smallest fundamental unit of matter, right? So now if I summarize what we have learned up till here, that light changes. Why? Because the light alters when the path, when its path passing through the material. When the light falls on your water molecules, it gets scattered, okay? And once it gets scattered, its light changes, right? Earlier the white light was coming, but now the water we are seeing in the sea is giving us blue color, which is reaching our eyes. Now new colors, new fresh frequencies emerge. Fresh frequency मतलब उस blue light की जो frequency उस time निकली, that was because of the energy exchange that happened, okay? I hope you are understanding. Yes? Okay. And what is the secret behind it? That the matter has hidden properties. If this would have been some other material or sample, the color would have been different. Okay, because we are talking here majorly about water, because this whole story revolves around seawater. But actually, he went into more of studies, and then he started with gems also. Then he started seeing that, okay, ruby is giving me red color, some other material is giving me some other color. So different sample will give you different colors. But now this is the basics of your science fundamentals. He laid the fundamentals of science for other scientists to work on it. Now you can see this must be from IC Bangalore. When he left Calcutta, he went to Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore, and which is called as Bengaluru now. And then he started showing these discoveries to other scientists. So when you do research work, you tell others also that, okay, this is what I have found. And so he's discussing with other scientists. This is about 1928 May all of this is happening. There's also one of the very important story. It's a memoir. I was reading through it. And they say that there were a team of 30 students who came to his institute, and in Tamil language he started interacting with them. Okay, like you are sitting in front of me and I'm interacting with you. And similarly, the group of 30 students went to his lab and they started interacting with him. So in Tamil language, he made them understand, because for me also, making you understand will not be very easy, right, as a layman. So how he explained him, so these are his words, which he told to those group of students, okay? Think of a person throwing a tennis ball, okay, at a certain speed to a tennis player. So somebody who's playing tennis and you are throwing a ball towards the tennis player who is waving his bat back and forth. So whenever, okay, I will read this whole. If the bat is moving backward and when the ball hits the bat will lose some speed and bounce back with reduced speed. Okay? Similarly, in the other case, the speed of the ball bounce back will be more. So, what do you understand by this? In a molecule, you have atoms, right? Water has H2O, 3 atoms, 2 of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen. Now, what is happening? These atoms are vibrating, okay, between their mean position. Mean position is the one which is at the equilibrium, and they are vibrating continuously. You are not able to see because atom is the smallest. You cannot see it with the naked eye. But what is happening in the atom? It is vibrating continuously where it is. Okay, so that is what he said, that if I throw a ball on that batsman, tennis player, and he is moving his bat back and forth, so the speed of the of that ball will change when it will be bounced back, when it will return back to me. Okay. So here we are talking about light and molecular interaction. Light, similarly, what is happening? Light is thrown, monochromatic light is thrown on the substance. That substance will vibrate, it will exchange its energy, and another new light will be scattered, and that is called as Raman scattering. Okay, now I will read. Atom in a molecule are vibrating constantly about its equilibrium position. Equilibrium matlab beech ki, when the atom is in the lowest energy level, or you can say it is stable. At that time, when the atoms are going back and forth in a molecule, the light falls on it and it interacts with that atom. And when the monochromatic light falls on the molecule of the matter, frequency decreases or increases depending on the energy state of the molecule. And that is the reason why this Raman scattering is happening, and also why the different frequency light is being seen. Okay, so light of different frequency, it can be of shorter wavelength, it can be of longer wavelength. What you saw in your spectrum, what you see in your spectrum, here the 7 colors, they all have different characteristic frequencies. Okay, so जैसे ही आपकी light hit करी, जो Raman spectrum scattering of light हुआ, उसमें जो light निकला, that will be of a fresh or a new frequency. It can be any color. In the case of water, you are seeing blue light, right? Okay, and now this is again a very simple, not just a graphical way of showing you that laser gives you a monochromatic light. Laser gives you a monochromatic light, and you must have seen that laser transmitting filter is there. Your sample is here, your this thing, diamond. Okay, this is your sample where the sample is being placed. And this is laser blocking filter, then spectrometer. Spectrometer records the data, and from there it is going back to your computers where you can record, you can take the data, and then you can see what material it is and what spectral lines it is showing. And this is how the research is being done in the labs. People actually take their sample to different labs. This Raman spectrum is being used, and from that they can make out what is that kind of sample it is. What is the lattice of that sample? What is the how that arrangement of atoms is can be different from each other. So this transformation occurs when ordinary light is scattered by the matter. Okay, matter is what? Your molecules or atoms, and your ordinary light is actually getting scattered, and this is all about Raman spectrum. How your light, if somebody asks you what have you understood, so how light interacts with the matter. So here you have the light. Laser is nothing but the monochromatic light. Here you have the sample. It falls on it. It interacts with this sample, and a new fresh frequency light is actually liberated out or emitted out, and that data is being recorded by a spectrometer, and finally it goes to the computer. Okay. So when light of one frequency is transmitted through spectrum, characteristic of the material is added to the light. So every material will give a different frequency light, and that will define what color of that sample you are seeing, right? Exchange of energies between light and the material. So this is what Raman spectrum is all about. Raman scattering is all about the interaction between the energies of light and the material. So material or matter is both the same thing, right? Now, for this moment, everybody in the colonial era also, everybody must be waiting. 1930 is the time period when he was selected for Nobel Prize, and he's the first Asian to get Nobel Prize in science. Can you tell me who is the first Nobel Prize winner in India? Rabindranath Tagore. And in which year? And he got for literature, right? But here we are talking about Dr. C.V. Raman, who got for science. So he is the first Asian to get Nobel Prize in science. And on this theory, the quantum mechanics actually started, and the physics behind it, and he was a great physicist. So a lot of physics, you can see the spectras and all those things over here. So a lot of maths and physics involved. And this actually lead to the quantum mechanics, जो कि आपकी बहुत ही major field है of quantum computing and all those things, and where you understand the spin of the electrons in an atom. So all those things actually come in this mechanics, quantum mechanics. Okay. A little bit about Homi Jahangir Bhabha, right? Have you heard of his name?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can anybody tell me who was he? Okay, yes, you can tell. Raise your hand. Anyone? Come. No hesitation. You said that you know. Yes, come on. It has to be mutual communication, right? Come, tell me. Right, okay, nuclear physicist. He became later, but okay, he was a very known person, and nuclear scientist he was. Nice. Sit. Okay, so now this is the time, he must be his junior. He was born in 1909 in Mumbai, in Bombay, and he had good relations with Tata. You must be knowing that in Mumbai, your South Mumbai is being laid by all Tatas, right? If you go towards Fort area or anywhere in Mumbai, Tatas have done a lot for Bombay. So he had very good relations. He must be definitely, and he went to Cambridge for his higher studies. He was born in 1909. Now you can imagine 1909, and then he went to Cambridge University for studying. When he came back in 1939, back to India, World War II started. Okay? And he could not go back to London for his higher studies. So that was the time when he met Dr. Raman, and he told him that why don't you join IC Bangalore? Okay, he was working there. He was the head of physics department. He said that why don't you come and join IC Bangalore? I must say that Indian Institute of Science again is a very reputed institute in Bangalore. So he said why not, and he was working on cosmic rays. Okay, his work was more on related, Dr. Bhabha's work was more related to cosmic rays. And this was the time when they actually, both of them, they came together. And from there, they actually developed a university called as Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. It was a deemed university. And if you go to Colaba, you will find in Mumbai. It is again a and Dr. Homi Bhabha was the director of that university. So they were sitting in a very jovial mood, and both of them, can you see from here, from this picture? He is C.V. Raman and he is Homi Bhabha, right? So they were just sitting down, and then Raman was sitting for, basically Homi Bhabha was portraying. Like I have seen your paintings, they are so good. Similarly, they were also in a jovial mood. They both were artists. So Dr. Raman says that the picture of a scientist by a scientist. So when they were sitting together, they said, one of them said, Dr. Raman said that picture of a scientist by a scientist, because both are scientists. Yes? So at that time, Dr. Homi Bhabha, he denied. He said, a picture of an artist by an artist. So both are artists and both are scientists. So now you can correlate that both are good scientists as well as they are also artists. And if you go to TFR, you will see some old sculptures which are very, very original, and those sculptures you will never find anywhere in the press also. So they are in their archives and they actually preserve it. So you also need to preserve your identity by keeping your original work with you. Okay? So do you believe that scientist is also an artist? Yes? I've seen your paintings outside and they're so beautiful. You have done it so beautifully, the charcoal paintings. So that is a way to express your feelings for a person, and it is all about your creativity. So here also you can see that the scientist is somebody who is creative. And why they are creative? Because they are analyzing the situation, and from there they can understand, and then they can keep making pictures in their mind. Okay, here you can see that we have a stamp. You can see that this is like 20 paisa stamp, right? Up to paisa you don't have, nothing less than 5 rupees or 10 rupees. So you can see here we are talking of the time when his picture is there on this stamp, and 20 paisa government must have put it, and there's a spectral also. The spectra, can you see these lines? This is the spectrum and his signature and Bharat. Okay. So this is the picture, and that must be in the lab, and his artistic journey. Okay. Now tell me, who is the scientist here sitting with Dr. Raman? Vikram Sarabhai. Who is Vikram Sarabhai? Yeah. So he's called the father of? Anyone? Father of? Space research, right? Right. So in 1969, ISRO was formed, okay, under his guidance and vision. So he was from Ahmedabad, a very popular. He had the mills in his family, and so they also came together and the Indian Academy of Science annual meeting was held in Ahmedabad in 1968. Okay, now this we are talking about 1968. They were together, and this academy honored Raman on his 80th birthday at this meeting. Now, Dr. Raman is how old? He is 80 years old, and they are celebrating. Okay, in 1968, and in 1969, ISRO was formed. So these are some actual pictures. Oh, so I will summarize it by saying that this was a groundbreaking discovery that he got the Nobel Prize in 1930, and to commemorate that, the government actually declared it as his discovery as 28th February 1928 was declared as Science Day. Okay, so he was recognized for his groundbreaking discovery. He understood materials, transformed insights into molecular behavior, how it should be, and he also inspired future scientists. So you can also be a scientist one day. All you have to be is to stay curious. Okay, you encourage yourself, and your competition is not with others, your competition is with yourself, right? So be the best version of yourself, encourage that curiosity, and explore more and more, how much ever, whatever you can do, the best in life. Okay, so on this we will complete Dr. Raman's chapter, in the sense that he achieved what he wanted, and he gave the best science to India, isn't it? And a big name to India. Now we will talk about the life of unsung hero, just few slides of them about him. And I know that he's from Andhra, but the problem here comes that Dr. Subbarao, he did lot of miracle in medical science, but for that he never got a Nobel Prize, and people started forgetting about him. Lot of you must say that his work was overlooked by the scientific people. He was very humble, very nice guy, but the problem is that sometimes it happens that you don't never get that value for your research work. So I know that you celebrate his anniversary every year, but that is the fact of life, that sometimes you become a forgotten hero, unsung hero. Now people have started talking about him again, and even in NCERT books you will see that the forgotten people have been introduced, right? He was a miracle man for wonder medicines. Why? He was a renowned Indian American scientist, biochemist. Okay, so biochemists, they were actually doing a lot of research and pioneering work on medicine. Which medicine he gave? In 1940, Dr. Subbarao, he developed methotrexate, right? Now this medicine is very effective. Even today in chemotherapy, it is being given. And it eradicated leukemia, which is your blood cancer in young children. Now, can you imagine that such a dreadful disease, and there is a scientist who is working on these medicines, and people didn't even recognize his caliber and didn't even give him. So this is the first time he gave this medicine which was used in chemotherapy to eradicate cancer and for young children. And that time it was like India was, it is 1940s, so you can imagine that we were still in the colonial period, right? And we were a developing country, so no too much of funds for research. In 1945, Dr. Subbarao and his team synthesized folic acid. Now, folic acid is again very important when it comes to pregnant women are being given this medicine. Yeah, for basically it's considered to be a tonic, and it is vitamin B9. So if you have deficiency of these vitamins, then obviously you will lack some problems will start coming, and and he actually took it out from liver extract. So his team was working on it, and this was done from liver extract. Now, discovery was pivotal. It was very important in understanding that blocking folic acid could stop cancer cell growth. So, what is happening in your body, we don't know. How we come to know? But the scientists, when they keep working on small cells, they come to know that how you can eradicate this problem. So, folic acid also, blocking folic acid, if you block folic acid, you actually eradicate cancer cell growth also. So, for those people who are undergoing that disease, then it will become easier for them to recover. Also in 1948, when he was there in Harvard, he actually, this is the first tetracycline. What is that compound? Tetracycline antibiotic. Before that, only one antibiotic was known in the world. Do you know what was it? Penicillin, right? So in 1948, he gave this tetracycline antibiotic, and I remember that in my childhood, I had also taken tetracycline. And it was discovered, and this was a broad spectrum antibiotic, right? So for bacterial infections, this was very effective, and it actually saved countless lives. Then the series of uske derivatives, like tetracycline becomes your compound, and then uske saath you start putting different derivatives, and this class of antibiotics is being freshly taken out, developed or synthesized. So you can just imagine that in 1948, these are the antibiotics that saved so many lives. He was a very humble person. Obviously, must be a nice-natured, but his work was overlooked, where he contributed at Harvard University and at Ledre Laboratories, right? His team was there. He was an Indian-American scientist, so that means he was working in America also. But for his achievements, he had two brothers. I think they had a very fateful death. So after that, he went into this kind of research. So all I want to say is that keep exploring. It is very important for you to explore, okay? Stay curious and never give up. So it should never be like, stay curious like Dr. C.V. Raman and Dr. Subbarao, and out of you only, you will be the future scientist, right? So out of you, one of you will become a scientist one day, and we will be reading about you. So it's not a big deal. Anybody of you can also become a big scientist and be a Nobel winner someday, right? So observation leads to discovery, sparkling new ideas, insights about the world around us, right? So discovery is something which is not known to anyone in the world, and anything can happen. All you need to know is to observe wisely. What is the mechanism behind it? Don't just go behind the marks. Now the world is becoming knowledge-centric. All you have to do is to understand things more. You can read just one concept, you don't have to read the whole chapter in a day. But whatever you are reading should be thoroughly. And that is the main logic behind we scientists coming and making you aware of the facts, right? Science is an art in action. So Dr. C.V. Raman says that science is a philosophy and art, as the scientists do with it. So scientists are also doing the same thing. The only thing is that they are also artists. They also belong to some philosophy, and this is how things can work. So thank you everyone for listening to me, and I hope that you have understood a little bit. Obviously, it will not be so easy to understand the whole mechanics and whole concept in one go. But at least start reading from different books about him. It will make your life easier. Like what you have read today, you go home and then again open the book and read about Raman's spectrum and Raman's life, or different ways that how he achieved such a great Nobel Prize. So that will help, and it will make your life easier. So thank you everyone.